Incremental greetings. Let's continue the Supermemo course, the Pleasurable expansion. Now it's turn to really get the difference between fonts and styling and how you can use fonts over the styling. I think it's not meant to be used that way, but it's still possible to do so. Because in Supermemo, again, the user has almost full power. You can override everything that the app does. And with this power comes a great responsibility, like the Spider-Man, yes, but that also means that you can screw your collection big time if you don't know what you're doing. Fowl doesn't cover that explicitly. In this part of the video, he covers fonts on HTML components, and this is what happens. By the way, this font size 5 that is empty, there's no text inside, this is very common for Supermemo, that adds this preemptively. This is especially true if you create elements right away by add new node or add new item, stuff like that. So let's look into that. So that's what we did at the previous video. You will realize what's the difference between this that is red and this thing that is red, the flashcards. Could you guess? Spoiler alert. This red is not hard-coded. It's through CSS. We will see in a moment. And this one is hard-coded. Let's check the difference. So first, the title. Do you see the red color is gone here? Because in the browser, I'm not applying the CSS file that I have in Supermemo. And if we check the source, in nowhere is specified the color. But wait a second, I have H1 tag. And if I go to my font, if I go to my styling, the Supermemo CSS, I specify this. H1 is red. The second header is purple, and so on. That is why it looks like that. That means that if I modify this to yellow, now it appears as yellow. Not just here, but any component, HTML component, that links to the default file, CSS file, will be like this, as long as there's a header 1. That's the power of CSS. But why the flashcards is still red? Well, because if we check this, it's still red here. How I can see this in red if we compare with the previous one, that the title is not red? That's because it's hard-coded. It doesn't require CSS because the styling is already there. It's with the code, but this is color red. Okay. So now let's say that I want incremental learning. I want to emphasize that. Right-click, text, style, font. I cannot link. Change the font color. Okay, but what happens if I do this to orange, let's say? It works. Okay. And if I check what I did, it's exactly the same thing. I'm applying a font tag. It's hard-coded. If you want to take notes, especially if you come from, I don't know, note-taking apps, you may want to have all of those colors. For topics, that's not a good choice because the topics in incremental loading are temporary. At the end of the day, you will apply done and it will be a folder, if you remember. Only for items. Even though I want to spend time on coloring this. But then if I go, let's see what I used. So other registries and font is, wait a second. I'm not creating any font registry member. Absolutely nothing. That's a big difference. Font, like applying a HTML font tag versus a font registry member. It may sound like a lot of jargon now, but it's unrelated. Both are completely unrelated. It may be confusing at the beginning. Now let's say growing fast. I want to emphasize that, and I had this option. Set the font of the current component or this other option. change the color of the current font. Okay, let's do purple. What's the difference? I change the color, and the other one is set for the component. Hey, look at that. If I check this option for the component, it's asking me the font style. Does this sound familiar? Because this is going to be a font registry member. Let's try that. For simplicity, Arial, color, green, size 16. Okay. Do you see? Now it looks terrible, but it's done. But wait a second, then what's the difference? In this case, if I go to the HTML component, I can still see both colors, because at the end of the day, it's the same thing. In this case, I didn't specify just the color. I also specified the size, and the face is the font family. Everything hard-coded. And the other times, I only specified the color, and that's it. Cool. But what happened now? Did I create a font registry member? Let's check that. In the main menu, search or the registry's font. Shoot, I didn't. But now let me create one. By the way, you can create any registry member like this preemptively without using any element. And I will be using purple. Okay, so now I have this one. It exists in my registry already. Then, can I link it? Let's try that. Imposes an obligation. Okay, so I want obligation. This is too close to my face. Okay, so let's do the Chinese. Then text, font, link font. Now I can link a font. Why this was not an option? It was grayed out. Because there were no registry members in the registry. As easy as that. Now we can do it. Let's see, accept. Here you go. You can actually do it. But did I apply the font like I did with the advanced English collection? Meaning that all of the elements using the same template were affected. Let's double check what happened here. Oh no, still the same thing. At the very least, you could have some convention. So important words, emphasis, keyword, or words I don't know. I'm not familiar with the words, are used in context, and I want to highlight that in a color to make sure. Or I use one word here and there in a different language. In this case, Chinese is pretty obvious, it's Chinese. But if it would be, I don't know, Dutch, Spanish, it's not that easy. So I will have to start reading to notice, hey, there was one word isolated in a different language. It won't be that easy to identify. Therefore, I use a font for that. Is it still a thing? I only knew one person only, who realized, let's say, that this is a thing, is part of the daily flow. That's why I'm covering this in this video, especially for people, if you come from note-taking, feel free to use this, and eventually you will realize that it's diminishing returns. Absolutely diminishing returns. At least for Supermemo. And remember, I want to get rid of the styling now that I don't want the fonts. Do you remember the key binding? It's Ctrl+Shift+1. Well, what the F happened here? One of the limitations of Supermemo comes from the rendering engine. It's using mshtml.dll. Basically, if it goes like some sort of Internet Explorer 5 or 6. Absolutely primitive. So now if we check the source, what happened here is that, look at this. The font tag, it's open, it's closed here. It's messed up. Sometimes it's not even closed. It opens the tag, and then everything else will be the same color, inherits the color or the styling, because the font never closed. So if you had more text, even if we had longer text, the next paragraph will also be orange, perhaps. Okay. So then let's do it again. Ctrl+Shift+1. Okay, here we go. And now I lose the space. So it's still possible to undo. And remember, this is one-by-one cases. So instead of hard coding everything, like change the color of the current font, like that, use the font registry. Not this other option, so none of those options, by the way. Right-click, text, font, link font, or Ctrl+Shift+F, and select from the registry. That means that now it's linked. I'm pointing to a font registry. No. That means that now, if for whatever reason, like the HTML components, now I want to change this, I can edit that, hey, I don't want this to be purple anymore. Let me quickly create an item. 1 second. Okay, let me quickly go to one element. Okay, cool. So like this, that's the text component, font, link, font. Now I want this. Okay. And now I can edit font and edit font. And now I don't want to be purple anymore. I want to be olive and slightly bigger. Cool. And then what is going to happen? Hey, this still looks the same. If I go now to my registry, the font registry, this is it says purple, it's a title, I didn't rename that, but it still says purple. Huh. That's not what I wanted. Let me go back. What is this color? What is this? I want to link this. Accept. Hey, what's happening? This is not the same color. If I go to my font registry, still says purple. Yeah, but this purple is the title, is what you see here. I did this on purpose because a lot of people get confused here. That's exactly the title. It's Arial, it's font 20, and that's the font color. Instead of using HTML, it's using the decimal. So it's hard for the human to know that. So in fact, this is no longer purple. That's why now I should remember. I should rename that. And it's Arial 20. And remember, you don't have to put these names. It's just for reference. That will be the answer. Do you see now it says the font member? The font registry member. It's the name. Why the question is not using the same color? Because it's not linked to any font registry member. Because it's using the default. Basically the one in the toolkit options and the fonts is using this. If I change it here to, let's say, lime, here you go, because I modified the default. I hope this clears things up. And again, feel free to use fonts if you want, even though if you never use font components at all, you only use HTML components. But remember of the huge limitations. You won't be able to choose the color again. It becomes hard-coded. So now if I change the one color to another, it won't affect retroactively everything you have done in the past. It's a huge limitation. And at the end of the day, this color coding can be done with just characters, writing with some conventions, and it's much quicker. We incrementally see the light, I think, with this course. See you in the next video.